Hi Year 9, hope you're all okay. Welcome to week 36, your narrative and descriptive task for this week. Okay, we're going to write about a terrible storm, or we're going to write a description of a place experiencing extreme weather conditions. Thought you might feel a bit cheered up or have a laugh at me dressed up as the Queen of Hearts. And I put a picture of school in because I'm sure you're all missing us terribly. Okay, so look at the bottom of the slide. It says use alliteration, use a one-word paragraph, use a list of verbs. And we're going to try and use, the tier 2 word catastrophic in this description. Okay, let's get going. So if we were in school, we would be doing a do now. Okay, so while we're working, I'm going to talk pretty quickly, and what I want you to do is to pause your video as you're going through. So your first job is to make a list of language devices that writers use to make their writing sound interesting. And we did this last week if you watched last week, so you should be able to remember some. Okay, so you pause, and then when you're ready, unpause. Right, here's the things you should have come up with or maybe thought of. Okay, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, different types of sentences, tier 2 vocab, focusing on the details. We always zoom on details, especially when we are writing description and stories. Use sounds and colours. And you might have remembered things like simile, metaphor and personification. Okay, and all of those things are the words that make our writing pop, like our lovely popcorn here. So how do you do it? Well, you use words that pop. So I have thought of some words that typically you might think of to describe the cold or that storm back here. Okay, and the words on the left here are a bit simple, so I've up-leveled them to a tier 2 word. So I'm going to talk you through my choices now while I do the I do. Okay, so cold, better word than cold straight away would be bitter. Better word than icy would be frosted. Better word than shake, he was shaking in the cold. A better word might be he shivered in the cold. And instead of saying it was really windy, you might want to say there was a gale or a hurricane. So these are our which word works. Which word works the best? Well, windy, shake, icy and cold are not your best options. Bitter, frosted, shiver and hurricane are. Okay, descriptive writing is meant to describe a person, a place or an event in great detail. Okay, and again, I've put you a reminder here of the things I've just talked about. And why do we do it? Most important reason is because by the time you get to year 11, this is worth 20 marks on your language paper 1. It's question 5. It's always there, a description or a narrative. Okay, let's have a close look at our friend here in the snow. So, is he old or young? Well, I think he looks older. Looks like your granddad with his flat cap, or someone older that you might know. Okay, I've given you some extra clues about the cold down the side as well. So you might want to spend a minute, pause the video and write down a few ideas about each of those cold looking slides. Okay, this is what you might have focused in on. All right, so you've got the man himself. Okay, I'm going to make a little list on my whiteboard. The man himself, the people in the background who are digging. We've got the snow covering, blocking, hitting it in. Okay, we've got over here, we've got icicles. All right, what do they look like? Like fingers. Icicles like fingers. We've got the snow heaped on the branches, and we've got the roofs, the pointed roofs pointed roof of the house here, covered in white snow. So we start to generate some ideas. Okay, so here are my ideas. All right, moving on, here we go. So how do we do it well? Let's keep coming back to the message, the key message when we write descriptively and when we write a story. These are the things we want to remember all the time. Adjectives, verbs and adverbs, different types of sentences, tier 2 vocab, words that pop, details. So we've just looked at some details now. You can look at the tyres, the spare tyre on the back of this one. You could look at these people standing in the background. You could make a note of his coat, the colour, his jeans, the colour of his hat, the fact he's got gloves on, his fingers are probably freezing. Okay? So, on the task that you can pick up from school as a paper copy is this. This is the task, okay? So it's a paper 1, question 5, English language, narrative and descriptive task. These are the things that you should be doing. I've said them several times now. I'm just going to talk about paragraphs. Make sure you use paragraphs. Make sure you keep your tenses consistent. You can't go from the past to the present tense and then switch back, because examiners hate that. So do teachers. Use a dictionary or your phone to check your spellings as you go through, so you're not having to go back afterwards and check your spellings. Okay? Don't do all of these things at the bottom, things in red here. Don't do these. Don't start all your sentences the same. The man, the car, they were cold, it was quiet, it was raining, the storm blew, the wind was freezing. No, you need to start with a variety of sentence openers, which I'm going to remind you of in a minute. Okay? You don't really need she started to. A lot of you, when you write, you say it started to rain or it started to snow. You just say it snowed. Okay? And try not use the word got too much. Try and rethink your sentence so you don't need the word got. It got so cold, his fingers froze. Just say it was so cold, his fingers froze. Okay? So sentence openers. Talked about this last week. These are very, very important, because one of the things you have to get right to get marks from the mark scheme is use a range of sentences. Okay, and the easiest way to change your sentences up is to think about how you start them. So start with a preposition. There's a list here. There's some underneath in a picture, so you can remember: in, on, under, next to. Prepositions are words of place. Okay, and here I have included, can anyone remember what those words are called? Describe the verb. Okay, and they usually quite often end in ly. I hope you're all thinking. Yes, an adverb. Okay, so there's some adverbs to get you going there. And I've also included the idea of using questions. Why was it raining? Where was he stuck? Who could help? You can start with 3 questions, or 4, or 2, or whatever you want. Okay, so today's extra boosty challenge is use alliteration as well. So can you think of some words that start with the same letter? S is good for cold. Slippy ice, or slippy slick ice. You could describe the snow as well using alliteration. You're going to try and use a 1-word paragraph and try and use a list of verbs, okay? And somewhere in your writing should be the word catastrophic. Catastrophic, it means disaster. Okay, I'm going to leave personification. We did it last week, but if you can, you could talk about, if you just wanted to describe the snow or the ice, you could think about it as having a human quality. So the ice crept up the branch or something like that. All right, so here's our we do. So here's the ideas that I started to think about before. Digging, blowing, like fingers, heaped, pointed roof, white snow. So I am going to write a sentence now, converting these ideas using an adverb and a preposition and some of these ideas to remind you of how we do it at school. Okay, silently. Let's get this on the board. Silently. The ice crept up the arms of the tree. Crept up the arms of the tree. The fingers held tight to the crystals, the cold crystals. Okay, so there's mine. Silently, the ice crept up the arms of the tree. The fingers held tight to the cold crystals. And by the fingers, I'm obviously talking about the branches on the tree. So what would get a mark here? Let's have a look. What have we talked about so far? This is an adverb, ly. Well done, Miss King. The ice crept. Doesn't like a very good E, that does it? Crept up the arms of the tree. So this, all of this here is personification. And that would get a mark as well. The fingers held tight to the cold crystals. And so here we've got some alliteration as well. Okay, so here you can see how easy it is. If you've made a few notes earlier on using the arrows, you can then turn your notes into sentences thinking about what we've said. Adjectives, verbs, zooming in, simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, all of those things. Okay? Right, so here's your task. Again, put this slide in again to remind you this is what we're working towards. Okay? And so until we can sit together again like this, be happy, keep smiling, and have a go at describing the winter weather picture, 2 to 3 paragraphs, or write a story inspired by that picture. You could write a whole rescue story about how the village came together and unblocked all the cars. Okay, so it's your turn. It's a you do now, and you're going to send it to me, kin@birkenheadparkschool.com. You can also email me and ask me anything about any of the Year 9 work. You can send me a draft. You can send me a question. I don't mind. I will get back to you. So, have a lovely day, Year 9, and take care of yourselves, and we'll speak soon.